Hi, this is marriage and family therapist Daniel Dashnaw. Today I want to talk about how to talk about the mental load without starting a war. Maybe it started in the kitchen. You were putting dishes in the dishwasher. Again, noticing that no one else seems to grasp how it got full, how it gets emptied, how there are steps between dish used and dish magically clean. Your partner breezes by and says, "What's for dinner?" You snap, not because of the question, but because beneath it is the weight of every invisible task you've been holding: meal planning, fridge inventory, food sensitivities, budget considerations, and someone also knowing whose turn it is to complain about the leftovers. All of this lives in your head. So you say something, not a scream, not an accusation, just something like, "I really wish it wasn't only me who keeps track of this stuff." And then comes the classic reply, "Why didn't you just ask?" There it is, the gut punch that turns exhaustion into rage because you've been asking, or at least you think you have been, maybe not out loud, but in every sigh, every task completed without thanks, every day you hoped someone else would notice the fridge was empty, the kid was out of socks, the dog needs flea meds, your birthday was approaching. And now that you're finally naming the cost of holding it all together, somehow you're the one who's being unreasonable? Why does this conversation feel so impossible? What makes talking about the mental load so difficult is that it's invisible. The moment you try to reveal it, it triggers something in the other person: defensiveness, guilt, confusion, sometimes even shame. But you're not telling them they're bad. You're telling them that you're tired. You're asking not to be the only one who remembers. But it lands as an attack. Now, part of this is cultural, especially in male-female partnerships, where many men have been raised to never have to name or notice or anticipate any degree of emotional labor. Part of it is the relational dynamic. Nobody likes being told that they're asleep at the wheel. But the deepest reason, you're asked for something we rarely teach people to offer: mental co-ownership. Not just help, not just a completed task. You want someone who scans the landscape with you, who notices the unspoken, who tracks life with you. Now, that's harder to ask than most people realize, but it's also a necessary ask if you want a relationship to feel like a partnership and not a project management dynamic. What you're actually saying is you're trying to stop living like a single parent, even in a two-parent home, or like a manager whose team forgot they were hired. You're trying to stay in love without going numb from resentment. You're saying, "I'm carrying things you don't see, and it's making me feel alone in a relationship where I should feel held." You're not trying to shame, you're trying to survive. You're not trying to punish, you're trying to preserve the best part of yourself that hasn't collapsed yet. So here's how to start the conversation. Timing matters. Don't bring this up at 11:30 at night after a missed school event or the heat of a blow up over who is supposed to call the plumber. Have this conversation when you're calm. Say something like, "I realize that what's draining me isn't just what I do, it's also what I hold. Mentally, emotionally, I carry a kind of invisible weight for our life, and I want us to talk about it, not to blame, but to rebalance." So what you do in here is you're offering a window, you're not throwing a brick. You're inviting your partner into a new understanding of what it means to just share a life, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. Now, usually one of three things happens. They get it, maybe not all at once, but enough to say, "I didn't realize how much you were holding. Let's look at this together." Well, good. Congratulations, you shifted the dynamic. Or they get defensive. That's pretty normal. So say this: "This isn't about keeping score. It's about wanting to feel like I'm not the only one who's steering the ship." Or, and this is really sad, they shut down, deny, or blame you. But remember, you're not in a disagreement. You're in a structural imbalance. And over time, emotional labor without acknowledgement becomes emotional servitude and eventually resentment. What shared mental load actually looks like: it's not color-coded chore charts on perfection. It's someone who sees the unopened mail and just opens it, who remembers the child's field trip before you mention it, who texts picked up toilet paper before you had a chance to give them a remind, who scans the emotional weather with you and doesn't call you too much for doing it. In short, it's kind of like love with a clipboard, a partnership where your brains get to rest too. But you can adapt this for any family members. The goal is to speak from vulnerability and clarity, not from martyrdom and resentment. So I can take you through this step by step. Number one, set the container. Can we talk about something soon about how we divide up responsibilities, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally? I'm noticing I'm holding a lot, and I'd love for us to look at this together. Step two, share your experience. I don't just want to vent. I want us to feel like a team. Right now, I feel like the person who always knows what's next, and it's making me feel more like a manager than a partner. Step three, give examples without blame. Like with holidays, when I'm the one who's remembering the dates, booking the travel, packing the gifts, and managing everybody's mood, it stops feeling like a celebration and it kind of starts feeling like a job. Step four, invite collaboration. Would you be open to walking through what we each carry so we can redistribute the mental work before it leads to more resentment or burnout? Step five, define success together. This isn't about making it perfect or perfectly equal every day. It's about both of us being more invested in noticing, planning, and remembering. That's what makes me feel alone, like I'm not alone in this. Final words. You shouldn't have to collapse to be seen. You shouldn't have to keep dropping things to prove that they were heavy. You shouldn't have to choose between exhaustion and conflict. If the people around love you, they'll care for what life feels like inside of your mind and not just what you've managed to hold together on the outside. So speak it. You're not too much. You're just someone who's been managing too much alone for too long. In that moment you ask to be met halfway, that's not weakness. That's a relationship-saving act of emotional maturity. Remember, when you set the container, you have to also understand this isn't just about how you divide up responsibilities. It's also about whether you're comfortable delegating. See, part of the problem for some couples is there's a I'd rather do it myself because I know how it gets done mentality of the overfunctioning. And some of these spouses really are resistant to delegation itself. So I think that the ability to overcome this for this kind of a couple is for the partner who's underperforming, shall we say, to understand that reluctance and to be particularly vigilant in initiating things. Yeah, I took out the trash. Yeah, I walked the dog. Yep, I did this, I did that. In anticipation and observation of clear need, not waiting for instruction from a partner who both of them know doesn't really care to delegate. If you like what you've heard here, maybe check out my website, Daniel Dashnaw, couplestherapy.com. I've written an blog episode there that directly discusses this research and many other types of research as well. Thanks again for listening. Be well, stay kind, and Godspeed.